I am continuing in my reading. What I'm doing in this series is to read through the entire standard works of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This consists of the Bible, the Book of Mormon, the Doctrine and Covenants, and the Pearl of Great Price. I am continuing reading in a chronological order, according to event, not according to publication or volume, so I'm skipping around a bit as I move along. We continue with the Gospels again. We've been reading his first Galilean ministry, traveled throughout all the cities of Galilee, preaching, healing, doing all kinds of miracles. At least 6 months, he has returned to Jerusalem for another feast, which I think is the Feast of Tabernacles. Could be the next Passover, but I think it's the Feast of Tabernacles. And while he is here, he is getting into some controversy because he has healed on the Sabbath day, and now his disciples are eating, or they're plucking the corn and eating it on the Sabbath. And he has declared himself to be the Lord of the Sabbath. Very important thing there. That's what we read last, is his declaration that he is the Lord of the Sabbath. And we will now pick this up in Luke. We read in Matthew last time. We're going to read in Luke the same basic story. In this video, we have a Joseph Smith translation. Now, what the Joseph Smith translation is, this is a translation or correction done by Joseph Smith to restore those passages that have been lost or corrupted over the years. So let us pick this up, Luke chapter 6, and we will read verses 1 through 11. And it came to pass on the second Sabbath after the first, that he went through the cornfields, and his disciples plucked the ears of corn and did eat, rubbing them in their hands. And certain of the Pharisees said unto them, Why do ye that which is not lawful to do on the Sabbath days? And Jesus answering them said, Have ye not read so much as this, what David did when himself was an hungered, and they which were with him? How he went into the house of God, and did take and eat the shewbread, and gave also to them that were with him, which it is not lawful to eat, but for the priests alone? And he said unto them, That the Son of Man is Lord also of the Sabbath. This isn't quite as detailed as what Matthew has regarding this encounter, this Sabbath, but he does state that this is the next Sabbath. So he healed the one man at the pool of Bethesda on the first Sabbath, the one Sabbath during the feast. So he comes down to Jerusalem, and the first Sabbath he's there, he heals the man at the pool. The next Sabbath, we have this controversy of his disciples eating the corn. I would also like to point out that there's a tendency, I'm guilty of this too, of thinking that when it says the disciples, it's talking about only the 12 apostles. At this point, there are no apostles. He has not called apostles yet. He's not ordained the apostles. And I don't think that he only has 12 disciples. He has many disciples, and he probably has quite a few who are traveling with him. Or, when he's down in Jerusalem, he's outside the city. There's probably many there. I think there were a lot more than just the apostles that are involved in a lot of these early stories when it talks about the disciples. Now, there were the inner circle, the ones that he'd called to the ministry. So far, there's 5 of those. We have Andrew, Simon, James, John, and Levi or Matthew. We have the 5 that have actually been called to the ministry. They're definitely there. But there's almost certainly more than just the 12. So now, let us take a look at the Joseph Smith translation here in Luke. We have this change. Instead of saying the second Sabbath after the first, it just says the second Sabbath after this, which means it could be 2 weeks later. I don't know. That's an odd change. And it says instead of just plucked the ears of corn, it's plucked the ears of the corn. Minor grammatical alteration. In verse 3, we take out the word and off the beginning, and then near the end it says, When himself was an hungered, and they which were with him. Instead we have, when he himself was an hungered, and they who were with him. Minor grammatical correction. And again, in verse 4, just changes that to who. So nothing of significance there. I'm going to leave that here, and we will be continuing in individual Gospels as we move along, so I will see you there.